Are we ready?
We are ready.
We are ready.
That's you guys. Hey, you know what I'm saying? John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights, pull a Yui, park in front of the music store with the red neon light. And that's where we are. We've been off for a couple weeks, but we're making up for it because we have 3 guests today. When you put all of these guests together, they are currently referring to themselves as Faux Jazz, which with an X, which we'll get into. So I think as you're seeing this, from your right, we have Frank Giguere on drums, right? There he is. In the center, Ben Armentano keys, correct?
Correct.
And Craig Garfinkel. Right?
That's right.
Right.
Pronounce it with the EL,
The
not the
EL.
LE.
Right.
Yes.
Right, on bass. Frank and Craig have been here before. Ben has not. And these fellows, and then some other fellows too. Who is not here?
Well, who's not here is Paul DeMeo, who, along with the 3 of us, were not the original, but one of the rhythm sections for Street Temperature in days of old.
Gotcha.
And the awesomely talented, great Bill Holloman on sax and
so Bill
trumpet and flute and everything.
Electric tuba. Don't forget
I've
tuba.
I've done gigs when he was the bass player.
He plays everything. There's one thing he doesn't play, though. He doesn't play violin.
Oh, yeah.
Admittedly, he says, no, he's terrible at violin.
Not yet. Yeah, you never know. So, guitar player not here.
Guitar player is not here.
Okay.
Paul DeMeo.
All right, cool.
And who is one of the main writers, because we do have 3 composers that do original material. We are performing.
So it's actually sort of like an amalgamation of 3 different bands, right?
Okay.
It starts with Street Temperature,
where
the 4 of us were the rhythm section. We always played with Bill back then. He would come down, sit in. And then Craig and I started playing with Bill. We were just doing like a Wednesday night at the 880 Club, that turned into the Bill Holloman Quartet. And then Paul, after he left Street Temperature, he formed another band. It was first called 7th Avenue, and then Big Science. So we're playing original music from all 3. So we've got originals from Street Temperature. Okay. We're playing some tunes that Bill wrote and tunes that Paul wrote, and then some newer original stuff by Ben.
Wow. So it's like the Justice League of America. Or whatever, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
Yes.
I think it's a perfect analogy.
Right. In Marvel terms, or what? I don't even know. I don't even know. That's all I think. So it's an all-star kind of ensemble.
We have 1 star at least, Bill.
Right. That's cool. Where is the gig? There's more. Is there 1 gig? There's several gigs. There's what do you got going on?
There are 2 so far.
Okay.
The big debut.
The big debut
is going to be Sunday, February 16th.
Okay.
At the New Park Brewing is I think the official correct name of the place.
Yeah.
Right.
In the green room. And tickets are available. Selling very quickly.
Briskly.
So, briskly selling.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And that can be found on their website, which I'm sure is newparkbrewing.com.
And where is that exactly?
On New Park in West Hartford.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Cool. That's cool. Yeah. And then there's another one.
And then Black Eyed Sally's.
Oh, okay.
Will be the following month on Friday, March
14th.
14th.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. And so you got the word out, so people know this is happening.
Yeah.
We trying.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I can promise you that at least tens of people are going to be watching this. But you know what? Hey, you know what?
But they'll be the important ones.
Yeah. I'll play in front of tens of people. That works. That works for me.
Yeah.
You know, I've done that.
And if even one of them buys a ticket, it's worth it.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, totally. That's cool. How did it all? Whose crazy idea was it to put all these together?
Well, you know, I can say something about that. You know, I've been living in Los Angeles for like the last 35 years. And and I just moved back here in May of last year.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And these guys, to their credit, and with Paul too and everything, I'd come home every Christmas and we'd always get together for dinner. And we would have a great dinner and lots of laughs and everything and whatever. And these guys used to always tell me all the time, if you ever come back to Connecticut, you let us know, because maybe we'll put this thing back together again, or like at least just to attempt it and see what happens, you know. So I said, okay, yeah, great and everything. But at that time, I had no intentions of moving back to Connecticut. I literally thought I was going to die out in Los Angeles, whatever, like that. So it was always like, oh, that's great and everything like that, but I don't think I'm coming back. And then when I did come back, you know, I called these guys and everything and said, you know, guys, I'm back or whatever. And then, you know, they just said like, okay, let's do it. Let's put it back together again. And within like literally like 3 weeks, I think, or something like that, when I got back, we started having a jam session, and then it turned into rehearsal, and then and then you know, just
So
we got Bill.
We got Bill,
Bill
right?
was all in, and we all got together. And after every rehearsal, it's been like, hey, this is really fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. What's it? I always wonder, what's it like to have fun when you're playing music? I just, not one of my experiences. No. So you're the dude that must have put this all together, because they didn't think of this before.
Ben is certainly the catalyst.
Well,
right?
but these guys, like, again, to their credit and everything like that, they were willing to do it. Like, you know, because when I came back here, I literally thought I wasn't working again. Like, I just like literally came back and just like, well, geez, you know, it's been 35 years I've been gone. Like, you know, I don't even know if anybody remembers me or whatever.
Well, I'll really say it, though. It really is because of you. If we turn the clock all the way back to 1986 and around then, because Frank had gotten into Street Temperature before the rest of us, and then Paul and Ben got in around the same time, and then I followed a little bit after that. But when the four of us got into that band, and you know, a lot of people know the history of Street Temperature.
Sure.
Always a great band. Yeah. Always great players. There's so many players that have, you know, gone through that band, but I think I can say it. There was something special about that group.
Oh, yeah.
And the four of us together as a rhythm section, we actually even used to have rhythm section rehearsals.
Whoa.
So aside from the regular band rehearsal, the four of us would get together and have rhythm section rehearsals.
Hey, that's cool.
And so, you know, it was great. So there was always that thing there.
Yeah.
And then Ben and Paul decided to leave 1989.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the last time I was going to be able to be in a band with you.
Wow.
And but then here we are.
Here you are.
I think overall, all of us, you know, even Bill, we've all said like, well, we didn't think that we'd be have the opportunity to play this kind of music again, you know, because it's like, well, is there a venue? We don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's been a blast.
Yeah. I mean,
and if we could remember how to play it.
That's first challenge.
See about that. Yeah, that's cool. Now, who had to learn the most of other people's stuff? I would imagine, like does it tilt towards any particular, like, who had to do the most learning, or does that not matter?
I think we all kind of had to, because
An equal amount.
But there, you know,
I didn't.
even though
I had the least because I played with every iteration.
That's true. But it's also,
and I played drums.
and there's that too. But then it's also relearning. You know, I mean, it's
right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay, wait a minute. I should remember how to play this thing, but I really don't. So good thing there's charts.
Oh boy.
You know, and good thing we can read them.
So you're doing like for the audience, like what, like the big numbers? Is that how you approached it? Like you go, okay, if we're going to represent Street Temperature, what's it going to be? And if we're going to represent, right? I mean,
well, we took some songs like from remembered the tunes that we used to do in Street Temperature, which were popular.
Yeah.
And we kind of like picked and chose like, well, I think the audience would like to hear Lataz again, or something like that, which is a tune that we used to always open with all the time.
Yeah.
And then we kind of looked at it. I think we're doing like 4 old Street Temperature tunes, or maybe more than that even. Whatever.
Something like that. Yeah. And then some covers that we used to do in Street Temperature.
Sure.
We did that.
Right,
so there's some
right.
things. So anyone who's familiar with Street Temperature and comes out to see and hear us as Faux Jazz, there's going to be a lot that they remember.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is
like,
kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you're hoping that's what the audience will be like. Oh, cool. Maybe didn't you guys Smoke on the Water, right? That was like your big number. Like you guys are definitely going to do that. Right?
We changed the key though.
and we do it. We do it in 5.
Right. My Sharona. That's the one we were talking about. Yeah, that's cool.
But we also wanted to do new stuff too, because we don't want it to be like all old street temperature stuff, because then it's like that we're almost may as as well go out and say we're street temperature again like that. So it was a combination of finding the balance between the old street temperature stuff, the stuff like like Paul's stuff from the big science stuff like that, which that and everything, and like Frank said, I had brought in a new tune, brand new tune that was that we hadn't done or whatever.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, there's threats of more writing to come.
Whoa.
And that, I'm sure that will happen.
And then we're doing some stuff that we recorded with Bill.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Bill Holloman
Yeah.
Quartet.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Like you said, so everyone's getting represented
Yeah.
Right.
in a way. Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool idea. And what's the capacity of the venue? Like how big a venue
It's
is
around
it?
200.
I think it's upwards of 200.
Okay, cool. That's cool, right? So
Yeah.
it's real. It's a real
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a real gig. That's
House
awesome.
sound.
Amen.
We're all excited about
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. Someone to boss around or whatever.
Yep.
House sound. It's cool. Killer.
And another thing I wanted to say about the writing process and everything and the music that we're doing is that I know for me, I miss these guys so much as musicians because it's like there were plenty of opportunities when I was writing for other bands and stuff that, I could only write to a certain degree. Like, in other words, the things that I heard in my head wasn't able to be played by, say the drummer wasn't very good like that and everything. And I heard certain things I wanted to hear the drummer do, but he just couldn't play that well. Or the bass player or the guitar player or whatever like that. So there was always that part where I couldn't really write till what I wanted to hear like that. But with these guys, I mean, they can play anything. So, there's literally nothing that I can't think about writing that these guys can't play like that. And Paul and Bill, the same thing too. I mean, there's no weak link in this band. Like in some bands, you have like somebody's a weak link, right?
Sure.
This band, there's no weak link. So.
Hey, that's kind of cool. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna write whatever I want now, because the ideal rhythm section in your head is doing the thing, is doing it right.
Kind of our thing as a
Killer.
rhythm section back then too was to take chances and stretch it out.
Yeah.
Frank and I used to play Where's the One?
Oh boy.
Because
I play that game all the time.
Yeah.
It's not on purpose.
because we always knew where it was, and then, but we'd look around at the other guys and go like, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
And that makes it interesting, too, because there's a tune of Paul's that we do called The Main Idea, that there's a funk section in the middle of it over Bill's saxophone solo, where, I mean, it's just a funk groove, right? So you would think, okay, this is easy, just no problem. But this guy throws around one like it's all over the place and everything like that and everything. He constantly displacing one, and he's not playing your standard, funk bass line. And so all of a sudden, the whole challenge of that section is like, oh, my God, where's one? Where's the one? So you got to really be thinking. It's like it's just like it's not something. It's this is just the funk section. Yeah, it's easy. Like
don't count. It's gonna mess you up.
It's like you got to like constantly be like I got to think. I really got to think. So and that's the things that's so much fun with these guys is because like I say, I mean other rhythm sections wouldn't do that or couldn't or aren't capable of doing that.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, that is
shucks.
Well, hey man, this is why you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
I've done that. You ever hear something and you're like, man, I got to count this. I got to figure it out because it seems crazy. And you're counting, and you're like, oh, it's an 8/8. No, it's straight 4. You're just confusing yourself. Like you go all the way around. You
just
go,
try.
It's just in 4. It's in 4.
Don't think of it as in 5. It's a bar 3 to bar 2. Count to 3. Count to 2.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. It's funny. So
or don't count at all. That's always the.
Or don't count at all. Yeah. So Ben is new, has never been here. So we'll just get a little bit of background on your story.
This could be a whole show.
Oh, okay, all right,
Hold
that's
on.
fine. Yeah.
My story. Well, I did prison time from 1980 to 1985.
Sure, in California, obviously.
No, I was born here in Connecticut and everything, and I went to music school at the University of Bridgeport, studied composition, and went to school with Dave Weckl, as a matter of fact.
I was just thinking.
And then so I moved to Los Angeles in '89, whatever, and played with bands over there. I played with Chet McCracken, used to be the drummer for the Doobie Brothers, and he had a fusion band that I joined. I got lucky and got in his band or whatever, and I did like 5 CDs with him.
Nice.
And we did a lot of gigs, whatever. I played the baked potato a lot. Got into a band that got into a heavy rotation of the baked potato, so I played there a lot and everything. Cool. And just did a lot of teaching, a lot of writing like that and everything. And
didn't mention who your uncle is.
Oh, my uncle Charlie Donnelly. Anybody out there know? You know Charlie?
You know, it was a little bit before my time, so I didn't get there, but I would hear about. Heard about him forever. I wish,
Very musical family.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I think I identify with drummers more than any other musicians, because I used to be at that drum store all the time, and I met all the drummers and everything, all the local guys and everything. And he sold drums to a lot of famous drummers like that.
That's what I would always hear.
So I got to meet a lot of those guys and everything. So that's it. And then my dad was a big influence on me. He was my teacher early on. He taught me a lot about advanced. I knew advanced harmony at like 15 years old. I knew what flat 13th chords were and sharp 11th chord at 15 years old. Like that.
What are those?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Tell me later.
Exactly. So, and that's it. And then, like I say, and then I just moved back here in May of last year. So
okay. Why? Can you tell us why, or does it matter? I'm just curious.
I missed the cold weather and the snow.
Well, yeah, but you also just missed something else.
Yeah.
What?
I didn't get to Glendale, but you got out of there.
Oh, the fires. Yeah, the fires. Exactly. No, the reason is just, to be honest with you, I just financially couldn't cut it anymore. I mean, it got to be impossible, living situation out in LA as far as like the cost of living and everything.
Oh, wow.
And then, once the pandemic hit, I mean, all the gigs completely dried up like that and everything. And that was like a year and a half of no gigs whatsoever. And even students, like, I have to be forced to teach online, and not everybody wants to do online lessons. Some people can't figure it out, or some people just don't want to do it like that and everything. So I even lost a lot of students at that and everything. So a combination of those things like that, just I just
like time to go back home.
Yeah, I just couldn't afford to be out there anymore.
But Ben was able to accomplish what Bill has too. But the rest of us, Frank and Paul and I, eventually all got the straight gig.
Right.
So.
Right. Or a lot of cats, they go to LA and they're back in a year.
Because people generally don't, make a career of just doing music their whole lives. And Ben did that. So bravo.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's killer. I mean, like I say, we all know people that go to LA and they come right back.
Right.
I skipped the going part. You know what I mean? I just didn't go.
So did I.
Here.
I, as a matter of fact, I didn't go to all three big places, New York, Nashville, or L.A.
Yeah. No, me neither. Not really. No, that's all right. I mean, whatever.
Hey.
I guess.
There's nothing wrong with this scene, especially back in the day.
Right?
That's the thing that I think about, and hopefully, we'll at least get people to think about again, because, and I said it somewhere where, back when we were the rhythm section in Street Temperature, and we were a jazz band with a horn section.
Sure.
And a road crew.
Sure.
We worked 6 nights a week.
Sure. Yeah. That's
and
impossible.
there were bands, tons of bands. I mean, you could go out any night of the week until 3 o'clock in the morning and hear great bands and listen to great musicians. So we were fortunate, and that is, unfortunately long gone. There's still great players around. There's still some things around, but it's just like...
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, no, I feel that way too. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been around, but I have ears, and I mean, there's world-class players in Connecticut. You know what I mean? Like, I can't ask for any more than the experiences I've had in little old Connecticut. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but I mean, who's better than the people we know?
Well, I think that, Ben
in the whole wide world
can also speak to, there's places where you go where there's truly the best musicians around. And there's still guys doing gigs for $100.
Those guys.
Right.
Those guys.
Those guys.
Literally.
It's amazing how cheap you can get guys.
Right.
I mean,
they got to work.
I was lucky enough to work with Nathan East a couple of times, and it's one of the funniest things is that we did a gig, and it was a gig. Fundraiser thing for Homeboy Industries, whatever. And the funniest thing was seeing Nathan East, drive up to the gig in his own car, get out his equipment, carry his amp to the stage and his bass guitar and everything. And I thought that was very.
Yeah, you thought he was going to get out of a spaceship, and his gear would just materialize. And then he would,
It's really tough, and there's great players, especially the players that tour all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're not making tons of money.
Yeah.
The hired guns. Everybody's seen those documentaries.
Yeah.
You know, it's an amazing life.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great thing to be able to play music.
It's also great to be in your house, living.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the way I look at it.
It's a balance.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the way I see it, I caught kind of the tail end of it. I caught enough of it, but I always feel like we tend to knock where we're from, but Connecticut, at least for me when I was on the road, we can service all of New England, so you can get a lot of playing done. Like you can develop your thing. What if you're in Des Moines, Iowa? Where you know what I mean? Like you're not going to play. You could play 6 nights a week if you want to go to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, whatever. You could carve it out and get your time in. Just living in New England, because you can hit a couple of markets, a bunch of markets. So we're fortunate. That's what I think it might be. You know, that we were all able to develop, and then during that time period when there were gigs, you got all your playing done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You figured it out by playing.
The standards around here were very high.
Yeah.
They really were.
Yeah.
A lot of really, really good players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the one thing I do miss about LA, though, is that there's a lot of clubs in LA that you can play at, like, you know, this kind of music that we're doing. Like, this is a hard sell. This is like hard to find places that we can play this kind of music.
Sure.
But in LA, there's, you know, like dozens of places that you can play this music, and they, you know, you don't have to dumb the music down at all. I mean, it's like they want you to play as good as you possibly can. They want to hear the artistry. They, you know, the whatever like that.
Yeah.
That's what I miss about being back here, because it's just like you know, we know, because we're trying to book gigs like that and everything. It's kind of hard to find those kind of clubs here.
Yeah.
You know, like that and everything. So that's the one thing I miss.
Well, we're just starting it. That's all. We're taking it back. That's all.
Yeah.
we're taking it back.
That's true too. Yeah. Or the way I think about it, unfortunately, I mean, if you have some sort of other job to keep the bills paid, then the gigs are, I hate to use a cliche, but it's quality, not quantity. You know, like you could still do the gigs and have a few hundred people is better than playing to 1,000 people who aren't even paying attention.
Yeah,
I mean, that, you know what I mean? Like you do that for years, you're just spinning your wheels.
That kind of hit us as we started thinking about, like, well, how often do we want to play? Like, once a month would be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And the first gig we're doing is 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Perfect.
Right. Instead of, 9 to 1:30 to 1:30
so,
or whatever it used to be.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, they like to say, you know, playing with house money. Right. I mean, we're just like, okay, well, this is like gravy now.
Right. So you might as well have fun.
Yeah.
And play as well as you can.
I'm really excited about doing it. I'm thinking about it now. And I think the last actual gig I did was a Christmas party, like at the tail end of the pandemic. It was with Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Really? You haven't played a gig since then?
No.
Wow.
Because for me, it just came to be, too, that it was like, you know, I'm not going to leave my house for $100 to play.
Right.
You know, Mustang Sally. I hate to pick on Mustang Sally because I
don't.
played Mustang Sally with players that play it great.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, that kind of thing, I'm just as happy to be home.
Good.
With my wife.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah,
hanging out.
It happens, right?
And not schlepping all my gear.
Sure.
But now, with this...
You don't mind schlepping.
I'll schlep.
You'll schlep.
I will schlep.
We're schlepp-worthy.
I will, they are schlepp-worthy. Yes.
Schlepp-worthy. Faux Jazz. Schlepp-worthy.
Yeah.
We got to build it up to where we have a road correct.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the band name actually came from a joke that we shared when we played with Bill.
Okay.
Back in the late 80s, there used to be infomercials for cubic zirconium diamonds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They called them faux diamonds. An incredible simulation of the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we started joking that, like, well, we don't play real jazz. We play faux jazz.
Right.
But
it's
an incredible simulation of the real thing.
Right.
And that became the running joke.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
And that is now our motto.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and like the zirconium, it turns black after a while, or whatever. made that up. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so it's faux jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then define real jazz then.
Oh, well.
Right.
It's all subjective.
It is.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Yeah, there is no answer.
Yeah.
We don't want people to think that we're jazz musicians. So.
Yeah, that's the
And that's the other joke. We'll say like, "Oh, we're coming dangerously close to playing real jazz."
Oh boy.
we don't want to freak people out here.
Yeah.
What's that joke? And I'm going to get it wrong. Oh, jazz music. That's when they just play whatever note they want.
Right.
yeah,
They're just playing whatever. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know the feeling. Yeah, you just fake it. You guys saw the. I have no. Well, you haven't heard me play the organ trio. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm imitating the sound of it and then trying to find my way in.
I've heard you and you sound great.
You sounded great.
I'm not looking for. I'm just saying, like I know. I know how to play drums, but I mean, I don't have that background, so that's totally faux jazz. But I'm just kind of like, I can imitate the sound of it and kind of get the touch and get in it, and then just go, all right, let me see what's going on.
Well, a lot of times, close enough is good enough.
I guess so, right?
But it's levels. You know, it's like, hey, listen, I can't play jazz with real jazz players.
Right. That's I guess
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Everybody will know.
Well, then stick in faux world.
That's
like
right.
where I am.
Stay in
Know
your
the
lane.
foe.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, may the faux be with you.
Yeah. Oh man, there's way too many rabbit holes
Too many. Well, you just named the next 5 albums. We just named them. Schleppworthy. May the faux be with you, or whatever.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
Dangerously close to jazz, or whatever. That's funny. Awesome. That's awesome. What else? So I'm trying to think how to and it all just like came together like that. Like it was pretty obvious. Pretty quick.
We had done this, like Ben was saying, he would come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we started off by like, hey, let's get together for dinner.
Yeah.
And then I remember one year we decided, well let's play. And I think the first time we did it at my house.
Right.
And my wife made dinner, so we combined. And then
the door.
And then we started doing that pretty much on a yearly basis. And then 2 or 3 years in, it was like, oh, maybe we could go out and play. And so we actually got a Street Temperature reunion together 2 years in a row. Bill played on it.
Okay.
But we also had a couple of the horn players. Bruce McGrath, who has
No longer
passed
with us.
about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Dave Kaczynski.
Larry
Boys and
Garreau.
Girls.
Yeah.
There he is. Look. He's in
And
the-
so
Larry
So-
Garreau played
Trying to
drums.
Larry Garreau was playing with us, and Tom Cody, the leader of Street Temperature.
Yep.
And that was about 15 years ago.
Oh wow.
But since then, I don't know how many times. I don't think we played.
We
every
hadn't.
time that you
We
came
hadn't.
home.
No.
But we would still go out to dinner and get together. But this time around, we got together. We played once, and it was like, yeah, I guess this feels pretty good.
It's
Let's
as
try
good
this
as you
again.
imagined that it would be.
Yeah.
I think
For
it's
me,
better.
it was.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that we figured we had to get this in before we had Alzheimer's and couldn't remember how to play anymore.
Speaking of dangerously close,
Yeah. When's the gig? When is it?
February 16th.
Yeah, right.
But the thing about, like Frank was saying about how we'd gotten together and played that reunion thing, what I remember from that is and there was a lot of years that we completely lost touch with each other. There probably was a good 10 years that we didn't talk at all like that.
During
and
the
everything.
90s, I think.
Yeah, for a long time. And then I think I was talking to Craig on the phone one time. He'd come out to the NAMM show or something like that or whatever and everything. And I said something to him about, geez, it'd be cool if we just could get together and jam, like, because we haven't played together in so long like that. It'd just be fun to jam. And he goes, yeah. He said, let me call Frank and Paul and see if they'd be into it. And I said, yeah, it's cool. So like 2 days later, I get another call from Craig, and he says, hey, hold on. He says, I think we might get a gig And I said, a gig? And he goes, yeah, Frank and I are working on trying to get Szechuan Tokyos to have us like that. He said, so hold on. He said, we're going to see if we can get a gig. And all of a sudden it went from just having a little friendly jam to, oh my God, we're going to have to rehearse. We're going to have to sound good like that. Right. And you guys remember that the owner of Szechuan Tokyo was like little trepidatious about having us play because we'd been gone for so long, many years. He was kind of like, I don't know, just, whatever. And we sold the place out, right?
Oh, wow. Cool.
That's cool. Not only that, then after that, we actually did Infinity Hall.
You're right.
In New Hartford. And it was the same kind of thing. It's like, really? I mean, this place seats like 300 people. Are we going to get people out? And we didn't sell it out, but we filled it up.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
That was a great gig.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Well, maybe this brewery, that'll be the right thing.
It's going to be a launch pad. It's going to be a launch pad.
Yeah.
I'll go out on a limb and say, this is the start.
Yeah, and then we're hoping like in the summertime there's outdoor festivals. Music in the park kind of things.
Sure.
So we're hoping that we can land a couple of those.
Yeah, why not?
And the funny thing about the Szechuan Tokyo gig is that, I don't know about these guys, but I know Paul and I had talked a lot about this, is that we were nervous. At least me and Paul were like that and everything. After all those years of not playing like that and everything, I was like, we were nervous, legitimately nervous. I don't know if you guys were or whatever like that, but it was a little nervous, for us like that and everything, or at least Paul and I, whatever like that. But, it was a lot of fun. My God, it was,
It's not a bad place to be, though. Nerves, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of nerves.
Oh, yeah.
Nerves never killed anyone. Unless they did. There might be somebody. Yeah, that's cool. No nerves this time, though. You guys know what you're doing.
Well, it might be. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah. We'll find out, right? Exactly. If you hear the tempos going like that and everything.
Oh, boy.
That's one of the things that we've realized, that the tunes that we're playing, they're probably, n number of BPMs,
nothing wrong with that.
Not slower, just more realistic.
Not 80s tempo.
Yeah.
80s tempo, right? Not 80s tempo.
Right.
Yeah. Where a lot of
there
us...
may have been some things that contributed to
That's what I'm saying.
tempos.
We're all on a different tempo. We're all... Yeah, BPMs were higher back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it with the rhythm section was that everybody in Street Temperature, we wanted to play, up tempo.
Sure.
But it was like, the tunes became like, oh yeah, we can play this, and we can play it a little faster.
Yeah,
we can play it a little faster.
Oh, I got
Pretty
you.
soon it was like, it was like being at the racetrack.
Yeah, it just folds in on itself. Yeah.
And the same thing with Bill. I mean, it was like, wow, we got these tunes, and when we first start playing them, they'd be at one tempo, and then we realized like 6 months later, wow, it's a whole new tempo because we're all comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So the hard part with this has been like, you can't just throw the switch back 30 years,
I got you. Yeah,
so as Ben said, we're trying to remember everything, but it's also like, okay, can I still play like that? And that's been a kind of an eye opener too.
Yeah. We're too old to play fast now.
The fortunate answer to that, though, is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's why we're going to do gigs.
Yeah, right.
Because if we couldn't, then we wouldn't.
Right.
But we can.
Exactly.
So we will.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Far out.
The funniest thing that I had found is when we started rehearsing again for this thing is that back in the old days we were like a party band. We were out till 4 a.m, whatever like that. I mean, it was just crazy. Now I remember getting ready for the first rehearsal. I told my sister, I said, I might not be home till pretty late tonight because I'm sure we're going to be rehearsing a lot and talking and all that kind of. And I was like home like 8:30 like that and everything. And she goes, what happened? Did the rehearsal get canceled and stuff? I said, no, we're done. I said, these guys like play 6 to 8. It's like the 8 o'clock, about of 8 o'clock comes. It's like, okay, guys, I got to be in bed at 9 o'clock. So I just,
Well, yeah, it's true. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, whatever. I feel like, too, I guess it just happened naturally, but gigs are earlier, too.
Yeah, they are.
Because I think sorry, I don't want to say that we're old, but I'm just going to say it. We're old, older than some people. Mm-hmm. But it's like back in the day, yeah, I can't get my friends to come. When's your gig start? Oh, we go on at 9:30.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
not
even going to
Yeah,
show up.
kind of a non-starter.
Yep.
Right. So it kind of just took care of itself. It seems like the audience that you still have, that we can draw, that are going to come see our thing, are going to come out earlier. That's fine. That works for everybody. You know what I mean? But I think, I don't know when it reset, but it seemed like before so let the young kids stay out late still, because they are. Yep. But us and our audience.
Yeah, but they don't go to see bands very often. They'll go to clubs.
Right.
So
we were so fortunate back when we played together in Street Temperature. We were in the heyday when, first of all, the drinking age was 18.
Right.
So if there's anybody younger, that's listening to this now,
no way.
Drinking age was 18. The bars were open until 3. You played till 2.
Right. There were no DUI laws.
You didn't. Well, there were, but what happened was
They were
if
loose.
a cop pulled you over, the worst thing that happened was you slept it off. Or one of the first things a cop would say to you is like, "Okay, where do you live? How far do you have to go?"
Oh wow.
It was that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was along the time that you left, late 80s, early 90s, when all that kind of started to change.
Right.
And then, cable TV went from the couple of channels it was to everything. People had big TVs in their homes, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
yeah, that was right before my time. Like
I used the drinking age to 21.
When I started playing, it was like, oh, you should have seen it.
Yeah.
Like I just missed it. Oh, you should have been here.
Right. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean,
was.
we would play Tuesday night. It would be packed at Sean Patrick's.
Sure.
The Trumbull Street downstairs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then we'd play Wednesday night at 36 Low Street. And
Packed.
a Wednesday night, it would be packed.
Yeah.
It's just...
And of course, we were lucky to have the every Friday night at the 880 Club, which was a vibe like no other.
Yeah.
It's Ben will say, I'm sure the baked potato kind of, it's a different level, but it's still
That
same
sort
kind
of
of
thing.
vibe.
Well,
Little
same
dive
kind of
Not
bar
that much different.
that you pack a whole bunch of people in, and
Melt their face.
they're there for the only reason that they were there was to hear us.
Yeah.
That's it. And the place would turn over.
Yeah.
There was the first set crowd, there was the second set crowd, and then the people that would hang out until the end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Wild times.
Yeah. Well, at least you're going to represent a piece of that time for, in a way, you know, and those that remember will check it out. Yeah, I know what you mean. I wasn't quite there, but I remember those days too, kind of. If what I can remember, as we all, that's the thing too. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm trying to think because I haven't heard what you guys sound like, so I don't really know I don't know what to ask.
Oh, we should have sent you some of the things. So we've already done, and people can, go to there's a website. It's fauxjazz.com.
Fauxjazz.com.
There's also we're of course on the Facebook and the Instagram.
Right.
And there's Bernie Palka.
Sure.
Drummer.
Yeah.
So he runs this show called Rock This Town.
Okay.
And we just did that. And that was one of the things that was the catalyst because we had to do, 5 tunes and we decided to do 3 originals, 2 covers that we all really enjoyed playing.
Nice.
And had to go and do that and hit it. And
right.
Turned out pretty
and it
good.
And it worked and it turned out.
They've allowed us to release a couple of them, 2 tunes so far.
Right, and I think that show in its entirety is going to air next week because they usually do it the first week of February.
Oh,
and next week's the first week of February.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to forget the name of the access channel that it's on.
I don't know either. The Community Voice channel.
Community
There'll be
Voice
2
channel.
places to see it. The Community Voice channel has like a cable access thing that if you're in those certain towns or whatever like that, you can watch it. But they also have a YouTube channel too.
Oh, right.
So
It's available
and that's where I'm sure a lot of people would watch it is on the YouTube channel. But they have their own separate YouTube channel like that and everything. And we'll be promoting it too like that and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that will air next
great.
week. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you were that was kind of like a half dry run or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of like, all
And
right.
it's I mean, that was really the first time that we went out and had to do the tunes. Like
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah, so it was a pleasant surprise.
as a
we made it through the
performance.
tunes.
Right. That's
yeah.
cool.
Only half joking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
They
way.
were mostly first takes.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a little nerve-wracking in the sense that it's just a small studio with just a few people in there, and sometimes that's more nerve-wracking to play for 5,000 people like that. It's more nervous to play in front of just a few people, and just a whole, and knowing that they really want you to try to get it done in one take. They don't want to be there all night like that and everything, So I mean, the
That's why you
pressure's
got to
on.
play
kinda.
everything really fast. You got to get it over with. Get it over with.
It's kind of this nervous thing. I don't know.
So, but we did. I think we did pretty much nail everything first take except one tune.
We did.
One tune. That'll,
We did.
little
We don't
bit,
need
but-
to talk about that one.
Uh-oh, what happened? Yeah, we
This is
do.
close.
Yeah, we do. What happened? What happened? What happened? Who blew it? Who blew it? Somebody who's not here? Somebody who's not here?
No,
Did we
me.
just say that?
Nope.
I raised
No,
my
he's
hand.
in this
I
room.
clearly raised my hand.
Oh, wow.
Hey, listen, it's not brain surgery.
Well, like you said, you have it. Right.
You can do it again if you mess up.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Wow.
Nobody dies.
Wow. That's heavy. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, like you said, no.
That's why I don't get nervous. It's like, what's the worst that can happen?
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Bad as something can.
But you know what though? Do you
It's all right.
you agree? You know what I hate? I know this is different. This is like what you're talking about, but because I'm pretty hard on myself too. But don't you hate when I didn't play well. I didn't, and someone says, "Well, it sounded great to me," or nobody noticed. It's like, yeah, I know, but I did though.
That's the beautiful thing.
You
though.
just feel like if people don't know the difference one way or the other, you're like, why am I even doing this?
Well, because you're doing it
Yeah.
but you're doing it two ways. You play for yourself,
Right, of course.
Right.
and you play, and that's one of the things I think that why who has rhythm section rehearsals? It's guys that love to play together.
Yeah.
It's that part of and there's a sports analogy too. If you've ever been on a sports team where everybody was, maybe one
Sure.
guy's not the best or this
Sure.
or that, but it's the group all together. There's nothing better than that,
Well, not really, but sometimes, yeah. No, but I think about that. I go, you think about like why some bands stay together forever, and you just go, well, if you found the right combination, like the right combination,
It's a
and
magic thing.
you just be like, no one's going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? If you're lucky enough, I guess.
Yeah.
For some people, if it works out, and you see some bands,
There's no better feeling than that. And being
Right.
able to play things that are, really challenging, that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, right.
But also at the same time, I think everybody would agree, it's not always the fastest tune that's the hardest tune to play.
right.
Oh no, not at
The
all.
tune I messed up was the slowest tune. that
Oh
we
boy.
played. Yeah, and it's sometimes it's a lot harder to play a slow tune than it is to play.
It's all about pocket and groove nowadays,
Right.
like that and everything.
Right.
It's, whatever. And like Craig was saying about the band, the rhythm section having rehearsals. I think we took a lot of great pride in like being the best we could be. Like we really took it seriously. We wanted to make sure that we sounded really good. Whatever. And,
I'll say it. Nobody wanted to follow us.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Good.
When we were on gigs where there was multiple bands and
You were
things
like,
that.
we're gonna throw it down. and
I
that's
remember one in particular that I won't. Well, actually, you were in that band,
that. Uh-oh.
but not at the time.
Uh-oh.
And they said, we're not going on after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So that was kind of...
Was that a band that had a number at the beginning?
That
Yes,
would,
it did. Yes, it did.
well, that wouldn't have happened if I
and
was in the band. I would have been afraid.
And they were great. And they were really good
Yeah.
players. And
Wow.
everybody was great.
Well, I mean, I was at the tail end, but I remember, you didn't mess. You couldn't mess with street temperature. You
Yeah,
couldn't.
there's a story,
just-
and you after a while you don't know whether these are like legend or
Yeah.
real.
Sure.
But when I first got into Street Temperature, Ed Fournier was the flute player. He's
Yeah.
unbelievable, just
Sure.
fabulous player.
Rest in
And
peace.
their manager at the time was trying to get them an opener for Herbie Mann.
Okay.
And Herbie Mann heard a tape of Street Temperature with Ed playing, and he was like, "No,
Yeah. Right.
I'm not following."
Yeah, he's
that
gonna make
guy.
me-
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
not opening for me.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're like, great, now we don't need to. All we have to do is tell people Ed Man was too scared to put, you know what I mean? Like you win anyway.
Well, we have a similar story though with the Bill Holloman Quartet. Let me see if I can tell this one really quick in a reverse way.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I might have been a little bit nervous for this gig. So we got booked to open for Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, wow.
And the Lincoln Center Orchestra.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah.
And it was the Bill Holloman Quartet, the original Faux Jazz, which was, we played fast and loud and, very much not sophisticated.
Right, a lot of faux going on. Heavy on the faux.
And what Wynton was doing at the time was, in fact, it was all Duke Ellington. So it was with a full band, and even the bass player played tuba, and they're all dressed in suits, and we're like, he's gonna hate us. And we did our thing.
Sure.
We went out and played. It was great. The crowd loved us. It was a good thing, and he was super sweet, and he was really nice to us. And then they came out and mind-bending performance.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's not.
That's exciting. I guess it could go that way too, because like you say, he might not be. It's like that saying I always think. It's like you just don't knock the way another cat swings. It's like it's not my thing, but you recognize it.
Well, it was always that
he's got to be
right. There was always that reputation that he's a purist, and we're not playing pure jazz. So
right.
But even during our sound check, he came up on the stage and he's kind of moving and like, yeah, okay,
hey, that's cool.
And then during the performance, I'm back near the curtain, and I'm playing along, and I look out of the corner of my eye, and these guys, like half of his band is back there peeking through the curtains at what we were doing.
Oh boy!
And I was like,
that's nerve-wracking.
Okay,
you imagine if you broke
I
them.
See that.
If Wynton was like, "What have I been doing with my life? I should be doing this."
No.
Wait a minute.
There was none of that going on.
Yeah. No, I don't imagine that.
No.
In
fact, the Today Show was there to interview him on the same.
Yeah,
gig.
that would be nerve-wracking. Yeah, that would be. I can imagine. Yeah, that would be creepy. I had so I was like really, well, I still am, but when I really into reggae, like really discovering reggae, like how to play it, like I was obsessed. It was immersed, all I would listen to. And then I went to Jamaica with my wife, like her cousin was getting married, and we went to Jamaica, and there was a reggae band playing at the we had like a barbecue, the night before. And I never do this, never. But I was like, I got to play with these guys because I have to know if I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? Because I just was like, and I would never ask to do that. But I had my wife say, my husband, and they're just like, yeah, fine. Like they're just like, who does this kid think he is?
Yeah.
And I wasn't even trying to blow anyone away. I just thought, I need to know if I'm doing this right. And it was kind of that thing. Like we started playing and they were like,
yeah.
Oh, he's cool.
Okay.
And then it was that. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And that was it. I just needed to know for myself, because how am I going to know that I'm doing it right unless I'm playing with the real people?
Right. I had a similar thing happen on my honeymoon. So my wife and I are in St. John's, and we're there for a week. And like on the Tuesday night, we go to one of the restaurants, and they've got a steel drum trio.
Yeah.
Guy playing, regular bass with one steel drummer and a drummer. So talking to the drummer on the break, and he says, "Yeah, you want to sit in?" And he calls me up to sit in, and the guys are like, here. Right. So I sit down, I just start, and they're kind of okay. Well, they were like, "What do you want to play?" I said, whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
Just call it. And we start playing. And it was fun. We went back there on the weekend, and now they had the full steel drum band. A whole new set of guys, the same drummer.
Oh, boy.
We go out there, packed place. So, on the Tuesday night, there were probably 3 people there, right?
Right.
On the Saturday night, it's packed.
Oh, no.
And the drummer is going like,
no.
Right? Now I'm walking up, and now everyone in the band, other than the lead steel drummer who had been there, they're looking at me, and they're not just looking at me, they're like staring at the drummer like, what the F are you doing?
Yeah.
And I had so much fun, playing calypso stuff.
Right.
It was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. No, you got to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, nerve-wracking. Yeah, playing in front of Wynton Marsalis, that's heavy. I don't know if I could do that, but you did it.
We got to play with some, we did some
I
pretty
bet.
good
We
gigs.
played with Larry
We
Coryell.
played with Larry Coryell a
number
couple
of
times.
gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we were talking about before, half of Spyro
Spyro
Gyra
Gyra.
Oh,
came
nice.
down to the 880 Club.
Yeah,
and
sure.
sat in
And we
with
opened
us.
for them, too, on a...
Open for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
I don't know.
Killer. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, Street Temperature was the tippity top of the top.
And it's funny too with the name Street Temperature. Like when I came back here, I went to a couple of clubs and saw some musicians that I didn't know, and they didn't know me either like that. But in introducing myself, I said I'm Ben. I said I used to play with a band called Street Temperature, and immediately go, oh, Street Temperature, you used to play with Street Temperatures, like yeah. And they were kind of like, oh man. And all of a sudden, I got treated with like so much more respect. Like all of a sudden, like these guys were like didn't know me from a hole in the wall, but all of a sudden, it's just like, oh man, you played with Street Temperature like that. There's almost like an assumption that you've got to be good. If you played with Street Temperature,
Well,
you've got to be good.
Is
like
that
that,
true?
you
You
know?
have to be good.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
However, the levels of respect you're going to receive after being on the John Peckman podcast.
Nah.
Now you just wait. You wait to see what doors are going to swing wide now.
Incomparable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My appearance, it did change my life.
Didn't it?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Well, I'm hoping it changes mine because this is the first time. So.
Right, because I need a change right now. Yeah, no, that's cool. It's cool. We're getting close. Does anybody want to add anything? So this is the moment, especially for Frank and Craig, like if you last time you were here and you go, man, I should have.
Oh,
Here
yes,
you are.
yes.
Excellent. Go.
So when I was on here with you, I brought in a list of drummers that I was very blessed to have played with.
Sure.
And it was a really long list.
Yeah.
It's like every drummer you can think of. Fortunately, I
Yeah,
got a
me
chance to play.
and everyone else.
And then you, Frank, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. That's the cool thing for me as a bass player.
Yeah.
And Street Temperature opened that door for me, to be
cool.
able to play with these amazing, amazing drummers. But I left somebody off, Frank. Frank from Oreo. Frank did,
I don't
yeah.
know.
So Frank, I'm so sorry that I left your name off the list.
Wow.
It was.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess
Great drummer.
Oh, okay. I take your word for
Yeah.
it. I think I've heard. Is he back out playing? I think I've heard.
I saw some things on
Right?
Facebook. Yeah, that he's putting.
I'll ask Jeff. I
Possible.
think Jeff was talking about. Jeff
Yeah.
Brown was
Jeff
talking
Brown.
about him.
Yeah.
Boy, what a great band that was.
Yeah, I'll figure
And
it
Jeff
out.
Zajac is back out playing.
Oh, maybe that's who I'm thinking
Yeah.
of.
He used to play with Cryer.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll figure it out. We'll get it together. Do you have any regrets since your last? Anything you want to?
No.
You covered it all. Well, you were
I
on
don't
twice.
think
You've been on twice.
I have. And we talked a lot the first time because we were talking about creative music and Bob. And, that to me, it was that mixture of I was lucky enough right at the same time. I got to be able to teach at creative music and I got into Street Temperature.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah.
in that one
center of
set
the
of,
universe.
like 2 months, I was like, oh, I just went from here to like here.
The man.
Yeah,
Well,
amen. But
nah.
but it was like, yeah, I'm teaching at this place, and I'm playing at the jazz club that I used to go to, saying, gee, I'd love to be able to play here. And I when I was in college, there was a horn player that was playing with Billy Cobham. I can't remember his name. I think his last name was Owens. And he's doing a clinic for us.
Yeah.
And he stops. He goes, somebody was like, yeah, what do you need to do if you want to become a professional jazz player? Like what? And he goes, there's the 880 Club down in Hartford. Have you ever played there?
Whoa.
And then it was like, have you ever gone there?
Yeah.
And okay. All
Wow.
right. Then, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to
Wow.
play at the 880 Club.
And you were already there doing it.
Well, a few years later.
Oh, yeah. There you are. Yeah.
Well, a guy we haven't talked about enough, I think, tonight is not here, and that's Paul DeMeo. I mean, we've talked about Bill Holloman a lot.
Yeah.
But Paul, I got into Street Temperature because of Paul.
Okay.
We had been in a band together in, probably 4 or 5 years before I got into Street Temperature. And out of the blue, I got a call because Paul had replaced Jeff Pevar.
Oh, wow.
In the band.
Yeah, yeah.
And, and in fact, and I told this story, I think, when I was here, I had just gotten hired by Christine Ullman.
Oh, wow.
For Rebel Montez.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I went down and I got that, and I was excited about that because that was a really good band.
Oh, yeah.
And, I started off being a rock player before I got
Sure.
into jazz or anything like that. So I was like, oh, she got the band, got the gig. Great.
Yeah.
Next day, Paul calls me and says, Street Temperature, we want you to come
Oh, boy.
and play in Street Temperature.
Oh.
So I had to call Christine.
Oh.
And it's the only time in my life I've ever done that. But I just knew. I said, that's more me.
Wow.
And that was the thing. The first time I saw Street Temperature was in a tiny little bar in Avon, Connecticut, where I grew up.
Yeah,
called the
yeah.
Pentangle Pub.
And you were like, I want to
And
do
I
this.
was like, someday I want to play with guys
Yeah,
like this.
me too. Same
I couldn't
thing.
believe that guys like that were playing locally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't. I remember going to see them at the 880 Club, and I couldn't believe that people applauded after solos. I was just like,
right,
wow,
right.
these people actually must be listening because they're actually applauding after solos. I was like,
Yeah.
this is pretty wild. I'd love to be in a band like this. And then Paul asked me to be because I guess who was before me? Pat Nigro,
Pat?
Well, we went for a while where we didn't have a keyboard player.
keyboard it on.
So
Oh, wow.
Paul got into the band, if you remember Margot Hayes.
Yeah.
And they got into the band because Kevin Chenard couldn't make a gig, and I sat in for him doing a gig with Margot and Paul. And I was like, and I
wild.
talked to them about like, hey, maybe this, could work out. Talk to the guys in Street Temperature. We had a female singer for, how long was she in the band? 2 years?
A couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then.
Because at that time it was kind of going to, they needed to incorporate a little bit more popular kind of stuff. So she was very dynamic, and
Sure.
so those were Chaka Khan tunes,
Sure.
and
Right.
then we were doing.
Which are fun to play.
Then we had horn
Yeah.
players that at
blast.
first were coming down to sit in,
Yeah.
and they played we did Tower of Power tunes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that was the start of the brass kicks ass horns,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then that became permanent, and then the band played all over
There
like
you go.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And the thing with Paul too, Paul got me in the band, like I said, and I auditioned and got it. And I remember the first gig. I think Eddie was in the hospital. I hadn't even met Ed
Oh,
Fournier.
yeah.
Like that. Ed was in the hospital or something like that. So
where you played
at the
when I got
rehearsals, I'd never met him when I did. So I remember the first gig at the 880 Club. I'm on stage, and sometimes Eddie would show up like a minute before the gig, whatever like that. And it's like I'm on stage behind the keyboards getting ready to play, and Ed gets on stage and he looks over to me and he goes, who the hell is this guy? Like that. It's like that. And it's
You're
like,
like, I'm the
hi,
new-
I'm Ben, like that and
Yeah.
everything. And that was my introduction to Ed.
And amazingly, we have the exact same story because Ed wasn't only in the hospital once.
I remember this.
Yes.
You told
us
us similar.
The band was in St. Croix and came back, and Ed had to do a little bit of,
He had an operation. He had a
yeah.
cyst taken out of his lung.
Sure.
it was a
So
big deal.
Yeah, and so he was out of commission for a number of weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
And we met on the bandstand. It was a Twain's on the River gig on a
Right.
Sunday, and he did the same thing. He didn't even ask me who I was, though. The band kicks off, and then we just start playing, and I'm standing next to him, and as we started playing, he just went,
Right. Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, yeah.
and I said, okay, I think he likes this.
Yeah,
And here's the thing about Ed, though, and us as a rhythm section, too. I don't know about you guys, but I distinctly remember Ed, when he would start a solo, he'd want the rhythm section down here,
Sure.
like that, and then build. Like
Sure.
every solo of his build to the thing. But he wouldn't play until he liked the volume level that we were at in the beginning. I mean, he'd stand there with his flute and just look at us and basically, like, hey, you guys come down. I'm not starting to play until you guys come down and everything, And all these years later, that's something I always remembered when any rhythm section work I ever did with any band was like to bring things down like that and everything and build it like that. And I learned that from Ed, directly from Ed, because at that point, nobody I was playing with before that had ever stressed about that, talking about the use of dynamics and everything, So, and I noticed that with the Steve Gadd band, when I saw him many times in LA, his thing was always starting way down here, and by the end, he'd be roaring like that, but everything started at a whisper like that and everything, So that's a thing that, again, this rhythm section just really concentrated on with little things like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, it makes me think, and we got to go. I don't want to run out because I don't know how much time we got on all this, but maybe that also helps the audience to understand it too.
Oh, yeah.
Why they're applauding at the end of solos, because they understand that like this guy is starting now.
I think too the thing is the variety, and that's what's there now and even more. Because it's a combination of these three bands from the past. So that's what people are going to see, because nothing against the blues. The blues, there's a lot of great blues players, and there's a lot of bands that know how to do that.
Sure.
But if every tune sounds the same, people lose interest.
Right.
So,
and you guys are the Justice League of a conglomeration.
I like that.
No, it's killer. No, that's beautiful.
We should take a band photo and Marvel get-ups.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. You should definitely. All right, we'll wrap it up. When is the gig? It is
February 16th.
February 16th.
New Park Brewery.
There's no football. This is after
the
Super Bowl.
Strategic. We knew that the Super Bowl was the week before.
So I'm playing a gig on Super Bowl Sunday.
And from 6 to 8.
Right.
And we have our website, FauxJazz.com, or you can go to the New Park Brewery website to get tickets.
Gotcha. And for those who don't speak French, FAUX. Right.
JAZZ.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows how to spell jazz, Greg.
Faux Jazz.
Well, everybody does.
You never know. You never know. Cool. All right. New Park Brewery in West Hartford.
And then Black Eyed Sally's.
And then Black Eyed Sally's
the following month.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. The month after that.
So the tour is partially booked.
Yeah.
Right. And there's the cable TV thing is going to be airing.
Right. That
so
will most
the
likely
YouTube.
come out next
Hopefully
week.
next week,
Early February it'll be.
Okay. All right, cool.
It's a true media blitz.
Hey, man.
Yeah, we're doing the Tonight Show after this, so we got to get going.
Exactly. Yeah, killer. All right, cool. Well, hey, Frank, Ben, Craig, here they are.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
3/5.
3/5.
Yep, representing.
Along with the great Bill Holloman and the great Paul DeMeo.
That's right. Yep, catch them while you can, kids. You know what I'm saying? All right, thanks for coming. You're not hearing this, but I'm hitting the theme, right? All right, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you,
John.
Thank you, John. You got it. I appreciate it. Thanks to Dave. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland. Here we are. You can have your own very own podcast here in our studio. Dave will tell you how. And look for more guests. We're hoping to go remote soon, so I can have anybody in the whole wide world. Next, hopefully, will be happening soon. All right. Thanks a lot, kids. See you later. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.